same thing at two different levels, but it's identical principle. And yet, because it's in two different levels, there's a difference in how you can relate to it.
Right, this is to explain the two levels of Tainug, actually.
Tainug versus the way it is in Chokhmah.
Yes, and the Tainug as it is to itself.
Right. And Keser versus Das, these are not the same things. I mean, they're similar, but that's not the point. The point is that we're talking about the same principle, because it's in two different levels, there are differences, even though the principle is the same.
So the principle, the second parallel principle is how we live on this earth. The main principle, the primary, is God hanging the earth in its place.
Right. And saying that, yes, this is, God hanging the earth in its place is a statement that this is a real presence. And everything that you put on it is going to acquire its presence.
Everything that you put on it becomes the das, so to speak.
Right. This is like taking that principle on the das level.
Okay.
Are we ready?
Mm-hmm. Recording.
All right. During these last few days classes, I remember making the statement that Seichel, that when Chassidus refers to Seichel, is principally a different orientation, different angle, different approach to Seichel, different significance than Seichel as is used and understood in the secular world. And the difference is the Seichel as it is applicable in the secular world is the Seichel of the body, is the Seichel of the physical presence. The Seichel that Chassidus is talking about is the Seichel of the Neshama. To the human being, this is what we say, the human being only has Seichel, because only the human being is conscious of his Neshama. To the human being, that is the reality. This is what Das, for example, is. Das means I relate to the world from knowing it, from knowing its significance, not from the reactive experience. I will act appropriately because that's the way you should react, not because it's going to be a consequence. All right. Are we ready? Good. So we are, okay, page Chavov. We'll start actually, what is it, 8 lines from the top. The line begins with what Hagil will say.
Sorry, how many lines from the top?
About 8. The line begins Hagia. Straight in. Hey, Yuvon. Similarly, from all these models and expositions, we will understand also Gam Bibchinas Asmus and Soif. Also, in relation and focusing in on the union of Atzmus Ein Sof. The essential element of Ein Sof, the true reality, the source of everything, the Hainu, which is Bechinas HaTainug Ha'atzmi HaPoshut. The Tainug Ha'atzmi HaPoshut. The essential Tainug HaPoshut. Poshut means totally undefined. Where is Bechinas Atzmus Ein Sof and Hainu Bechinas HaTainug Ha'atzmi HaPoshut? How is one, so to speak, an exposition of the other? Tainug versus Atzmus Ein Sof. This is a further allusion to what we mentioned several times over these days, that a rock that appears to be totally a totally independent presence So this is really, so to speak, a moshel for Atzmi in terms of its independence, in terms of its appearance of being an entity completely unto itself. Like in the world, that is viewed as the essential reality of the world. This is the building block of everything else. On the other hand, we pointed out that if from the physical perspective this may be so, which is also not so, really, but from a true a sense of what an essence is, an essence that has no personal awareness, has no personal significance, is not an essence at all. And this is where the Tainago Atzmi comes in. So it's Atzmus Ein Sof. This is Ein Sof, this is the true essence. That essential truth of it is recognized in the fact that there is a Tainago Atzmi HaPoshut. We will not attempt now to go and delve into the principle of Tainug, but enough to say that if there is Tainug or Atzmi HaPoshut, clearly there is meaning and significance. There is reality to this presence. So this Tainug or Atzmi HaPoshut, which is representing the deepest and the truest element of this reality, speaking about this reality, the way in Tainug or Atzmi HaPoshut, sheyesh bozeh hefresh, that within that truth itself there is a difference. K'mei shehu b'bchinas helam ha'atzmi ha'mamos, between, as this Tainug or Atzmi HaPoshut is within the helam ha'atzmi mamash, within its origin and the reality of the atzmi, ukmei shabo b'bchinas helam ha'atzmi d'chochma, and versus how this comes into the helam ha'atzmi d'chochma. Where does chochma come into this principal reality? As we said, that principal reality that has no self-knowledge is not reality at all. Therefore, there is this chokhmah element. This in the self-knowledge is present in these two levels, in the oinag element and in the chokhmah element. And this is they're both, so to speak, principal, essential self-knowledge, which is part of the definition of the Atzmi. And the Chokhmah is a reflection of the Oineg, and it is really the same thing. The Chokhmah is truly a reflection of the Oineg. And yet there is a difference between how this truth is in the Oineg element and how this truth is in the Chokhmah.
This self-knowledge seems to be a key point here, key differentiator. I'm not sure I'm understanding what is meant by self-knowledge here.
No, it's not different. That's not a differentiator. That is a principle manner with which we identify an atzmi.
Yeah, in contrast to a rock
that does not have a self-knowledge.
Right, so we've made this difference that a real atzmi has this self-knowledge. So
and this self-knowledge is in two different levels.
Okay, is there something more that can be said about what that is per se? What is self-knowledge?
Self-knowledge, okay, is on two levels. It's exactly the same principle, oineg and chokhmah. Why is there oineg atzmi? Because of the depth of the reality of this atzmi. Why is there chokhmah atzmis? Because of the depth of reality of this atzmi.
And this
just as let's go back. I don't want to confuse. We should understand when I say just as, it means it's like a emotional element. Okay, like we said, there is such thing as das, as a primary knowledge. A bar das. What does he know? He knows that life is real. And to make an impression doesn't compare in terms of its significance than to actually living a real life. What's meant the bardas?
So this that oneg, that there's an atzmi has self-knowledge is to say, like we had before, he's kind of.
Sorry, what?
He wants him. He's.
Oh, this is we pointed out that this is reflected in in the metzias of the created world. In the created world, we say that kol dover reitze b'kiyumai. Everything wants that its existence should be substantiated, should continue. Why does he want his existence? And here also we contrasted it between the Darwinian thought of everything wants to protect its existence, and Reutze b'kiyumai, that is spoken about in the Sifri Chassidus and in Sifri Yisrael. Just to be, that's like a rock. What's the point in that? Reitze b'kiyumoi, he wants to be what Hashem made him. Because through that, what Hashem made him, this is how he senses, he recognizes, he relates to the true presence, to the true reality.
He's wanting to be what Hashem made him. This is a way to understand the self-knowledge that we mentioned earlier.
All right. So we say that the way in Atzmus in Seif, there's a Tainogo Atzmi. This is the Atzmus, the Tammuz Apostle. This is the reality of Atzmus in Seif. There's a difference between the way it is in the Helamo Atzmi itself, how the Tainog is in the Helamo Atzmi, and how the Tainog is in Choch.
Tainug Atzmi Pashut. Pashut applies to Tainug, not to Atzmi.
Right. Well, Atzmi is called Pashut. Yeah. Tainug Atzmi HaPashut. Right. Pashut applies to the Tainug. Interesting, I was listening to our shiurim in Eter. This is going back 8 years ago. Exactly, 2005. And we have a long discussion about, and the Maimon talks about Tainug and Chochmah. That's the same thing. How Chochmah is actually the exposition of the Tainug. Okay, so there's a difference between the way it is in Helamo Atzmi, in the Tainug Atzmi, and the way it is in Atzmi the Chochma, the Haino Chochma HaGduma. What's with Helamo Atzmi the Chochma? This is what we refer to as Chochma HaGduma. Again, what is the word Hagduma? Kodum, the word Kodum, is different than Chochmah Rishena, for instance. Rishena. Rishena means the first. Keduma is not Rishena. Keduma refers to original. Original means that it is there on an original level. It never came into being. It's Keduma. It's part and parcel of the reality itself. It's Keduma. It's not a creator. It's not a chokhmah that came into being as a result of some experience, or some exposure, or some trigger.
So you said chokhmah is an exposition of Tainug?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Chokhmah Agduma, this is the Helam Ha'atzmi the Chokhmah. How can it be Chokhmah that's Helam? Chokhmah means knowledge, whatever level. So it's not Helam. What the answer is? We're talking about the Chokhmah that is Keduma. That Chokhmah really is Behelam, and yet there isn't Chokhmah. To expose us to this concept at a much lower level, but to expose us to this concept that there's a reality that is Behelam, and no matter the fact that it was never tapped, it's still real, and it's still there. Not only it's there and real, it functions. As in the case, as we point out, a man who has never developed his human qualities. Or a man who fell down and is drunk, lying in the gutter. He's still a human being. And his human quality is still throbbing within him.
He wants to be human.
That he wants to be human.
Down deep, he wants to be human.
That's right. For no reason. This is the hell of it. Now we're going to discuss at that level, these two levels, the difference between these two, the Helam Atzmi, the Oynek Atzmi, and Helam Atzmi, the Chochmah. Which I said, this is the identical thing. Chochmah and Oynek are the very same thing. Because as we explained in answer to today's class and many times before, the Chochmah that we are talking about is the Chochmah of the Nefesh, not the Chochmah of the Guf. Hine Yodua, for it is known שהתורה היא ממוצע, that the Torah is the intermediary between Ein Sof and Neshamas Yisrael, between the Ein Sof and Neshamas. What does it mean? It's the intermediate. It means that last Kisha Miskashron Dobedo. The Zohar says that there are three knots that interrelate, that are tied one to the other. Yisrael, Ve'erais, Ve'kutshubriyu. The three knots, the three bonds are between Yisrael, Ve'erais, and Kutshubriyu. Behind and the simple way that this is presented is that the Torah is bound with the Kutshubriyu and is bound with Yisrael. And through the Torah, Yisrael are bound to Kutshubriyu. This is the Memutza. V'hainu. And that is, how is it that the Torah can connect between Yisrael and Kutshubriyu? Why can't Yisrael go directly to Kutshubriyu? Because Yisrael is on a different level. If it's a different level, so a Torah that connects to Kutshubriyu, how has that become a connector with Yisrael? And this is what we're explaining the Yin from Mamutz. Lefi, it is because Torah yesh bo mibchinas atzmus ein soiv, because in the Torah there is mi bechinas of that bechina which is atzmus ein soiv. Al dezeh hi mamutza. Thereby, the Torah serves as a mamutza, because Torah has an element in it that is atzmus ein soiv, while the same thing, Torah is chochmah, the chochmah nafkas. Therefore, it is able to connect to Yisrael. Ukmei shekosuv. As the Pasuk says, Oy te oy kasalmo. Oy te.
Could I ask, Yisrael is also coming from a chafta, Shalach Kodesh Baruch Hu. That is not Chachma.
Machshavta shel Yisrael, that is in Machshav. That is, that precedes, really. But when you talk about that Torah is a memutza. We're talking about it's a memutza to the actual presence of the neshamas. Not machshavta. Machshavta means the intent. That's why it says, it says that we have Torah and Yisrael. These are the two origins, which is kodem to which precedes which. So we say, he says, Ani Omer, I say that Yisrael precedes Torah. Why? Because in Torah it says Daber Bnei Yisrael. That means that Torah Yisrael precedes Torah. But this is called Machshavta Shel Yisrael. But to pay a mamash when the neshamas are in presence, then Torah is above. In Gilui, Torah is higher. In essence, neshamas Yisrael is higher. So in Torah there is mebechinas atmos himself al yedei mutzkushikosu oita eir kasalma. Oita, he spreads oir, light, kasalmo, like a garment, like a sheet. And this posuk is talking about Torah. So we say that this posuk exposes sheyesh ba'Torah Beis madrigas. That in Torah there are two madrigas, oir v'salma. Oir, light, v'salma, and garment. V'salma hu b'chinas chitzonius ha-Torah. Salma, this is the b'china of the chitzonius of Torah, just like a garment that spreads over, and spreading over means it encompasses. There are things that it encompasses. This is the way the chitzonis. V'hainu b'chinas chochmas ha-Torah, and that refers therefore to the chochma of Torah. Shabo b'hislapshus b'halochis gashmi, which comes through hislapshus, actually relating and fully hislapshus, as we explained many times. Hislapshus means that it actually fully relates to it. It becomes part of it. It dresses into this. Bahaloch is gashmi, into gashmi is haloch. Halacha is every halacha has a reason, has an origin. In every halacha there are, you could say, these three madrigas: Maaseh, Dibur, and Machshava. There is the Chochma Bina Vadas in the halacha. There is the Midas in the halacha, the Chesed, Gvura, the Peretz, and then there's the Nehi. That's what they say, the Malchus in the halacha. So it says like this. It says, and the Alter Rebbe explains like this: David HaMelech reflected on the specificity of the hislapshus of Torah in the world, and the specificity in halachos of Torah, and this gave him enormous hispoilus.
What?
Hispoilus. What is the specificity that he reflected? So that, of course, there is an unlimited thing, but this is what the Alter Rebbe brings out, that if you have a korban in Beis Hamikdash, and you do everything, a korban, you bring a fat ox, and it's a big donation, a big gift, a big mesiras nefesh, and it's perfect. No moon. You checked everything out. You brought it yourself, and you carried it on your shoulder. You brought it into Beis Hamikdash, and you made it offered, and so forth. And then the kohen shechts it, and every shchita is 100% kosher with alle Sachen. except one little thing, that when he carried or received the blood from the shechita, he took it in the left hand instead of the right hand. Big deal. The whole thing is off. Das means he's slapshus. It completely imbues itself into the world. Although the reason it has to be in the right hand, not in the left hand, comes from Milmailo. But then Milmailo, it becomes a reality in this world. The right hand is not the left hand. There are two hands in this world. They're all complementary and so forth, but there are two hands. And to do that with the left hand, it's possible, finished. The whole thing is no.
Even if he's left-handed?
Now left-handed Kohen cannot do that. Doesn't mean he slaps us. The same thing in doing a mitzvah, it has to be precisely right. There could be better, but it cannot violate the principles of the mitzvah. The tefillin have to be in place. And the tefillin on another place, it could be the best tefillin. It costs $5,000. Makes no difference. That simple thing. This is it, gentlemen, for this morning.
That's his involvement with you. That's God's involvement with you, that he's...
This is the
he's
Islamshus of
lapsus.
Torah. It's Torah. Torah is the mamutz of Islamshus. All right. This is it for this morning, gentlemen. Have a good day.
We see, we're emphasizing that Torah is what brings Hashem into your life, so to speak. His involvement with
Torah is right. But connects Yidden to Medrash.